Hi, and welcome to Saturday Morning Tea with Author JB. Let's talk. Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Saturday Morning Tea with your author JB. This is your girl, author JB, and in this episode, I will be discussing the freedom and accountability and owning your own stuff. Let me explain to you what I mean by owning your own stuff. To me, that means acknowledging to yourself actions that you've taken or decisions that you've made that have directly or indirectly caused some sort of discomfort, suffering, pain, grief, heartache, heartbreak, sorrow, disappointment, sadness, or unhappiness to yourself or to another human being. In shorter terms, it just means taking accountability for your own actions. You see, I'm coming from a level of accountability that measures self-awareness and self-growth. We can spend countless hours pointing the fingers and blaming others for the things that we do. As humans, that just seems to be the easiest thing to do. See, just the other week, my husband and I, we were having a disagreement, and after things got really heated, we began to blame each other for the escalation of the disagreement. But what is funny is what we were disagreeing about got lost in all of the finger pointing. It was just easier to point fingers and play victim than to take the accountability for our own actions. But did you know that most organizations deem accountability as a core value? Companies believe accountability is one of the core values that helps them achieve their goals. And it's a valuable trait that most organizations look for in their employees. Employers want to believe that they can trust their employees. But accountability is not only a core value in business, but also in most religions. As a Christian, the Bible clearly says in James 5:16 to confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that ye may be healed. To me, that means own it. Own what you've done. Admit that you were wrong. But it went on to say that after you confess it, that you can be healed. I strongly agree with that because there is peace. I found that there is peace and healing in owning your own stuff. It's when you are able to own it that you can deal with it, and only then can healing take place. The freedom that comes with owning your own stuff certainly can heal the soul. This is how owning it helps to heal our souls. First, it releases us from the burden of guilt. Do you ever wonder why people who have done you wrong seem to get angry with you about what they did to you? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, but I understand, and you should understand, that is guilt. Guilt has you looking over your shoulder, wondering when karma's gonna come back my way. But owning your stuff releases you from that heavy burden. It frees you from continually trying to justify your wrong actions. It gives you peace. Secondly, it takes you out of victim mode. As I mentioned before, it's easier for me to point the fingers at others than to see what I brought to the table. When you're able to say, I'm sorry, hey, I was wrong, then and only then are you no longer the victim. You see, my husband's actions were none of my business because we're not responsible for the actions of others. We are only responsible for our own actions. It's up to us to come out of victim mode. We cannot walk in victory when we are victims. But the scariest part of accountability are the consequences, because there are consequences to our decisions and actions, good, bad, and indifferent. But just like owning our stuff, we must be willing to own those too. But let me be clear again, we are not responsible for what others do to us. Holding ourselves accountable for someone else's actions does not help them or us. You have to worry about yourself and what you brought to the table. For example, in my book, Hostage in the Mirror, I discuss how I was physically abused by a man I once loved. How he beat me for hours one night while I was pregnant with our child. I went into graphic detail about how that horrible and scary night unfolded. My book went on to say I stayed with him after that for about four more years off and on. And I still got hit from time to time, but I still stayed. I made a choice. Now, I wasn't accountable for his actions, but I was accountable for my own. I allowed it, and I allowed it to happen in front of my children, which caused them some pain as well. I had a choice. I've taken accountability and ownership of that. I apologize to myself and my children. I learned from it. I have moved on from it, and I grew from it. Now, I know that that was a graphic example, but I wanted you to see just how deep accountability can go. We can easily blame others, but it wasn't until I looked at myself in the mirror and owned what I had become and what I had allowed to happen to me was when I could change it and when I no longer would allow myself to be the victim. But another example was, I was under the impression a young lady had gone around spreading untruths about me. Out of anger, I went around spreading some stuff about her too. And what I said about her was true, but my heart was in the wrong place. My intent was wrong. And I knew it. And after I owned that I was absolutely out of line, I had to apologize to the people I talked about her with. I had to apologize to that young lady and to myself because I was wrong and it was out of character. I owned it. I learned from it and I moved on from it. And the consequence may be I may have lost a potentially good friend. But let me add, I don't care if she spread the untruths or not. I wasn't accountable for her actions. I was only accountable for my own. Because people know when they've done you wrong. Just like we know when we've done other people wrong or when we've done wrong. It was not an easy thing for me to do, but it was worth it because the guilt and the victim mode I had boxed myself into, they were eating at my soul. I had to let it go so I could heal. You know, there are many examples I can give, but I believe that you're getting the gist of it. Accountability is a necessity. Finally, owning our own stuff opens up the grand opportunity for us to learn from our mistakes. It makes us aware of our actions and opens up the door for that magic word, change. Sometimes facing the man in the mirror can be difficult because as humans, we will make mistakes, some big, some small. But when we can own it and aren't afraid to do just that, it makes us better. It helps us to like and love ourselves more. And when that happens, anything is possible. You see, my prayer is to see all of us make it. I am here to inspire and motivate other women to dream bigger, pursue bigger, act bigger, and think bigger. Although my market are women, men clearly can glean from this. This is a life lesson for all of us. You know, I consider myself your accountability partner because iron sharpens iron. At least that's what the Bible says. I want you to succeed. That is why I share so much of my story and many testimonies with you. It's for that reason. I want you to be successful. And I know how important owning our own stuff is to our dreams coming true. Everything I share has impacted me in one way or another. So there. But now moving on, I want to go on to how we own our stuff. First, we admit it, then we deal with it, then we move on from it. Now it sounds simple, but it most certainly is not. But again, it's a necessity as we are dreaming bigger, as we are reaching for the stars, dreaming bigger, pursuing bigger, acting bigger, and thinking bigger. We are building our brand and most importantly, our names. If we want our brand to be built on a solid foundation, we must start with being able to hold ourselves accountable and making that a core value. It's an integral part of our character. It's a characteristic trait that equates to our level of integrity. There is power in accountability that can be applied to every area in our lives, personal and professional. But you got this, you know? I got this, we can do this because again, iron sharpens iron. Well, I have come to the end of this broadcast and I pray you can take something away from this that you can apply to your life. Again, thank you so much for having your Saturday morning tea with me. And until next episode, remember to dream big because you are worth it.